Welcome to this heart-to-heart conversation, a portal into your freedom, your creative power, and your presence. Together, we remember how to create consciously, live in harmony with the earth, and restore the sacred balance of life. Welcome to another heart-to-heart conversation, where we gather to remember what it means to live as our whole multidimensional selves. Today, we're turning inward to explore one of the most intimate and empowering aspects of this path, aligning with your higher self. As outdated structures dissolve and the frequency of the earth rises, we're invited into a new reality, one where intuition becomes our compass and our higher self our most trusted guide. I'm Victoria Hart, and this is Awaken Your Multidimensional Self, the dawning of a new light. Together, we'll explore how living from your intuitive knowing opens the door to freedom, flow, and the joy of co-creating in alignment with your soul. My guest today is Stacey McDaniel, a devoted light worker who channels healing light energies from a diverse spectrum of benevolent sources, celestial angels, ascended masters, galactics, unicorns, source, and more. Stacey, welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm grateful to be here with you all, sharing in the beautiful frequencies and talking about this beautiful topic.
So let's begin with asking, well, what does it truly feel like when we're aligned with our higher self? And how might someone recognize when they're living from that place?
That's a great question. And when we are aligned with our higher self, there is, I think, first and foremost, a feeling of more safety because the information that comes through is of such a high vibration and such a high frequency. There's the higher perspective with it all. And so we feel more safe with our decisions. We feel more safe with feeling supported in where we're going. And it just takes some of the stress and the flip-flopping back and forth. What should I do? Where should I go? It really reduces all of that. And we can move into that state of trust, ease, flow, and really begin to manifest what we want to and align to our ultimate potential, our highest timeline.
Beautifully described. And so, can you speak then into the power of aligning with our higher self to really gain a higher perspective? And then, how does that shift the way that we navigate life's challenges or decisions?
I'm already forgetting the first question. I had the answer, but then as I listened to the second
Yeah.
question,
Can you
um,
can you speak into the power of aligning with our higher self and then that how that helps us navigate the challenges?
yeah. So the power of aligning to our higher self, it really brings us to that highest timeline.
Mm,
And so if you think about that and where you move forward from that space is truly creating the life that you want to create, living the life that you want to live. And sometimes that's a journey, right? It doesn't just happen like that. But you begin to see puzzle pieces falling into place. You begin to see and feel those signs of being aligned.
mm.
And then I forget the second question.
when we've got that higher perspective, then how do we navigate either challenges that might crop up or making decisions on, what action to take or how to respond to a situation?
Right. So it doesn't mean challenges are going to disappear, but we respond to them instead of reacting. And a lot of times what happens, especially when we're sort of living more subconsciously or unconsciously, we react just automatically. It's this automatic energetic pattern in our system. But when we're connected to our higher self, it really helps us to stop,
Yeah.
um, slow down, and have that higher perspective of being able to I mean, so many things, not take things personally, uh, notice the signs of where we should be going, following our joy, following our bliss, following our intuition. And so when we come up against obstacles, the other thing that I really love is when we really anchor in to the knowing that we are always divinely guided and we are always divinely supported. We can realize that whatever we're going through, there's going to be a higher purpose, there's going to be gifts, there's going to be blessings, and it takes away the worry. It takes away uh, the stress around it all, knowing that we're divinely guided.
Yeah.
It was interesting because something happened with my husband. We're like in the middle of moving, and our moving truck got delayed by a day. And I said to him, I said, I bet there's a higher purpose. I bet there's a reason why. And the next morning, we found out that reason why. And we were so glad that our move got delayed a day. So it's little things like that. And my husband was like, honey, you were so right.
Your higher self is guiding you. And thank you. I
Yes.
love what you shared there. And I remember, for me, a lot of it is, when we're stepping away from that autopilot and reactional mode and we start to become more present and aware, it's like you're observing like the scene playing out. So when you're coming from that observer space, you don't need to jump in. It's kind of like, okay, this is kind of unfolding. And then we can kind of feel into, well, how does that make me feel? How do I, yeah, what are the inner nudgings on how to respond to that? And in the same breath, you may not need to respond in that moment. It might be just to show you the situation, and then you can step back and decide how you're going to respond at a later point. Um,
Yes.
yeah.
I love what you said about it unfolding, because that is truly what happens, because we're not always given the full picture.
Mm,
And if we just relax into it and watch that unfolding, it's like we're given those pieces along the way.
yeah. Yeah. Nice. So we hear a lot about, the dance between being centered and grounded and then opening to that intuitive guidance. So I'd love to know, Stacey, what helps you stay connected both to the earth and spirit at the same time?
Great question, because you really mentioned something that's so important, the grounding piece. The staying grounded and centered actually helps us to tune into our intuition more and tune into that guidance more. And well, there's three main things that I personally do. It's going to be different for everybody, but of course, my healing work that I do is like one of the easiest ways for me. But also, walking in nature, I am absolutely love to do that. And I actually do healing as I walk, but it's so centering and grounding for me. And the other day, I mean, I do it every day where I've got a dog who is really, really active. But the other day, I had a lot going on. And in my in my talk with my guides and my higher self, I was like, what's going to support me most in this moment? And what I heard was get out in nature, go for a walk, just breathe and clear some of that energy, be out in nature, feel the sunshine, and then you can come back
Mm,
feeling a lot more clear and centered, because that's really going to make a difference. The other thing I really love to do is yoga. I find that really grounding and centering, but it's going to be different for others. Others may love to journal. Some people love breath work, which is a part of yoga, and that's one thing I love as well. But the grounding piece is really important because the more we're grounded, the more we can open up. So
mm,
there's that inverse relationship.
mm.
Staying grounded and centered is really, really important.
Yeah, and I love how you shared that because I remember being very much up and ungrounded but connected, I guess, to the higher realms. And but because I couldn't anchor it down and hold that stability, I guess, then I often felt, out of control, I would say. So I love how you shared the importance of, if we want to connect to our higher self and start receiving that guidance, we really need to be grounded and anchored so that we can bring that through in a calm and stable way. And
Absolutely.
uh, sorry.
I was going to say, and I love that you used the word stability.
Mm.
That's really important. And it's another way of saying balanced, but any of those are going to help as well. It's not only being grounded, but it's that centering stability as well. That's so important.
Yeah, because I couldn't then uh, accept that maybe I was being intuitively guided because I wasn't stable to receive it. So I didn't trust it. So thank you for sharing the importance of that. And it leads me on nicely to asking, well, then what is the difference between our higher self and our intuition? Are they different expressions of the same essence?
I do believe our intuition is our higher self speaking to us. It's our higher self guiding us. And, I hear a lot of people discount or dismiss their own intuition. And I've been there myself. I've done that myself. I'm not immune to that. But the more that we start to rely on it, because the thing is, we are the ones who have the answer for ourselves. Yes, we can ask for advice, wisdom, we can get given guidance, but it's truly we each are unique expressions. We each have our own unique energetic signature. And so where we need to go, what we need to do is the one who is going to know most for us is our intuition, is our higher self. So I do think intuition is our higher self speaking to us, as well as if you connect to your guides, if you connect to source or the divine or things like that, that is also can come through in your intuition.
Mm. Yeah, and I remember, not trusting that inner guidance that was coming through. And so I would ask other people what they thought. And of course, that created even more doubt and confusion in me. So what are some things that you might share to help strengthen that intuitive muscle, especially when we live in the world that you described where we're not really taught that and, it's kind of silenced, really. We're taught to silence that.
Yeah. Well, you said it perfectly. It is okay, it's not technically a muscle, but it is. It acts like a muscle that the more we use it, the stronger it gets.
Yeah.
So practice, practice, practice. And practice can be fun, right? But the more that we can connect to it, the more we begin to trust it as well. And and so I love to just really and it doesn't take that long to connect. You know, we're going to do a healing process in a little bit, and I'll guide you through what I do to connect, and you can really shorten it. We're going to do, you know, I'm going to really walk everybody through it, but it takes me just a moment, really, at this point to connect in to the higher guidance, to the higher realms, if you like, my higher self. And the more you begin to do it, the more it just becomes automatic.
Mm.
And then it becomes almost this dance or this conversation, if you will, you know, of always checking in and and as well as always knowing you're supported and guided, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, but it becomes automatic. So, like I mentioned, instead of having that reaction of, oh, it's this reaction of, oh, I need to check in. Let's see what's going on here. So,
I think that's so important, and I mean, it's even a practice that I have to keep, practicing because I wake up in the morning and I set my energy and I do all that connection in the morning. But then as you get busy throughout the day, it's so easy to forget to kind of check in as your day's unfolding. And of course, if something does crop up that makes you, as you were sharing, that's your cue, check in. But sometimes we don't, and so we follow the rather than the ah. So.
yeah, exactly. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. And so have you got a personal story of how when you followed your intuition, it really shifted something in your life?
Well, I gave that story about my husband and the move the other day, but let me see if something else comes to mind. I mean, it's almost every day where I'm checking in really and just following the signs, following the synchronicities. And I'll give you an interesting story. Lately, you know, we've had this conversation. I've been going through one of the busiest times in my life. We just moved. I've had a lot of international travel and things. The old me would have slipped back into chaotic energy, but I have felt guided and supported. And these are things that I've asked for, right? It's all great stuff. And what's been happening for me as I've known that, it's literally every time I look at the clock, it's like 33 after or 44 after, which 44 is like especially angel numbers. And it's like every day, all day long, I look at the clock, it's 44 after, it's 33 after, it's 22 after. And it's just these little signs that from my guides where it's like, you're loved,
Mm,
you're supported, you're guided, you are held through this time where, you know, it's natural to feel a little bit of upheaval from moving. That is what moving is, right? But there's just been so much support for me that every time I see that, I almost have a giggle. I'm like, there you are, like there I am, feeling that magic. It's like
mm.
something as little as that can just, it's like I'm reminded of the magic
Yeah.
of the day. So
I love that. And I'm always looking for the signs as well. And another thing I've kind of set as a program, sometimes if you're in a chaotic experience, then you can actually ask, well, show me a sign and show me a sign that I will recognize so that I know that I'm on the right path. Because I think that's important as well to remember that we also are, we're not just looking for them, but we can command them as well. We can ask for these to show up in our life. Um, yeah, so thank you
absolutely.
for sharing that.
Our guides, our higher self, they love to be asked. That's communication with them. And even though they're there supporting us, you know, they won't jump in
Mm,
unless we ask. And so, you know, we have free will. So the more that we remember to ask or be in conversation with our higher self, with our guides, whatever resonates with you, they love that. It
Mm.
gives them more permission to bring in that flow.
Yeah, and then that brings us back to what you shared earlier, that the more we ask, the more we make that connection, the stronger it gets. And so, we then are having that constant flow of conversation. Love that. And so I think one of the biggest questions that people tend to ask them, well, how do I know if it's my intuition or if it's fear? And we just talked about that or showing up. So how do we know? What are some of the practical signs or energetic cues that you might look for that you can share with people here on what to look for?
Yeah, your higher self, your guides, they're they're going to speak with love.
Mm,
They're going to come through with an energy that is uplifting, that is positive, that is loving, that is supportive. Those are the biggest keys. What energy is showing up? And if it is not of that energy, it is not of the higher self or the higher realms.
mm,
That will be fear speaking or things like that. And so they really bring through, our higher self really brings through that higher perspective. And that higher perspective is always from a place of love. And so that's what's going to show up. And what's really been showing up for me and my clients lately is anywhere we slip into worry. What my guides have been saying so much lately is, have you done your best? If
mm,
you've done your best, there is no need to worry because it's going to be of a high vibrational outcome.
mm,
And so it really has taken away any sort of, I mean, really, worry is the only thing I can think of, but you could add in all sorts of those unwanted emotions, right? It just takes that out. If you've done your best, know that the universe is going to respond in kind.
mm. I like that, and it makes me remember, I guess, sometimes worrying is because you're not taking an action. So you're kind of festering and worrying about what might happen without then kind of taking control of that. So I love what you've just shared there about, have you done your best? Because that's a little reminder. Well, have I done my best? Is there something more I can do? Or am I happy that, yeah, I've done my best and now I'm just waiting to see how it unfolds? So I think that
Yeah,
was really beautifully shared.
yeah, thank you.
And so, what kind of practices or rituals would help you or help someone really start to anchor their higher self more fully in their body and in our daily life?
Absolutely. So there's the way that when I work with clients or work in group sessions, I call it setting up a sacred space.
Mm,
In angel healing, I've learned it as the four essential steps, and and it's very similar, one and the same, really. But this works every single time, and so I love to share this with people because once you really get it down, it's you can just do it like that. And so step number one is to just take some deep breaths. And sometimes just doing that slows down the energy. It anchors us into our central column. It anchors us to within, right? It already begins that connection to the higher self. But just taking a few deep breaths, slowing down the breath. And then step number two is coming into our heart chakra. And
mm,
so our heart chakra is the middle chakra between the higher chakras and the lower chakras. So just doing that centers us. It is
mm,
that safe, sacred space from within. And my guides always give it to me. It is that place within that welcomes us back each and every time. we come into our heart chakra, it just opens up and it says, welcome home. So
Mm.
step one, breathing. Step two, coming into our heart chakra. And then step three and four are what we've already talked about, grounding and connecting. So I like to create a golden column of light going
Mhm.
in each direction and following it downward all the way down to the center of the earth, connecting into the core of Mother Earth, anchoring in there. So then we're grounded. And what I also love to do is bring up her energy.
Yeah.
Because as you bring her energy up into your body and your energy field, that already begins healing, guidance, activation, raising the vibration, raising the frequency, and then following that golden column of light in the other direction and going up, 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 and wherever you want to connect in. I like to connect into my higher self, obviously. I also like to take it a step further and connect into the light or connect into the higher realms as well. So, whatever you feel comfortable connecting in with is perfect. And then once again, bringing that's going to be fifth dimensional energy and above, coming down into our bodies, into our energy field. So you get this mixing of the energy from the earth and the energy from either your higher self or the higher realms. And so you've created this sacred space of really connecting with your intuition. And so truly, once you get that down, it can happen like that. And so even when I step outside to walk my dog, I just start us out by just breathing, coming into my heart and setting up that golden column of light, and we're off. And so when I work with clients or do group sessions, I really walk us through it a lot more slowly. We kind of savor it. But it doesn't have to take long. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be hard.
Mm. Yeah, I'm the same as you. I do that when I'm out walking my dog as well, because then I'm
Yes.
connecting to the earth.
That's when I get so much guidance coming
Yes.
through. And like literally, that's how I get given courses I should
Yeah.
teach, classes I should teach. So much guidance comes through.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when I moved out of corporate world, and it was before I was doing what I'm doing now, but I was sitting at the desk wanting to be creative and getting frustrated. Why wasn't I, why wasn't this creativity coming through? And I had to realize and actually set up my day so that my day doesn't begin until I've been out for a walk in nature. And like you shared, there I was thinking, still kind of conditioned to having that 8 hour day at the desk. And I could get my work done in 4 hours because I'd spent time in nature, got all of the ideas and intuition, come back, bang, 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 and my day is done. So I love how you shared that. And it took me a little while to kind of set that up as my routine.
It's
And
so important. It's really so important. And one thing I've really realized, I love yoga and I go almost every day. What I've really realized is also, so when I come back from walks and when I come back from yoga, I am so centered and focused. I can just sit. I do some of my best, I'm calling it work, um,
yes.
but this is what I love to do. And so, that's really when the inspiration flows.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the sunrise yoga is
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I tend to, so this is kind of my day. Same as you, I start with a walk, um, and then come back, do some work for a few hours, then go to yoga and then do some more. So I have like my two really big, connections in the day, and it things just flow so much more smoothly. So
mm, nice. Thank you. So I
yeah.
think it's a good time to bring in, because you're bringing some beautiful special offers for our audience. So I thought it'd be a good time to maybe speak into what you're bringing and who it might be suitable for.
Sounds good. Are you wanting me to talk about them?
Yeah. If you want,
Okay.
I'll
So-
drop the link in. But if you
Okay.
want,
So are we talking about the packages?
yeah. So you've got a
Okay.
beautiful self-love course, I believe, a 5 week
Yes.
coming up.
Yes. So there's three packages. The first one is the self-love course, which is titled Love and Celebrate Yourself with an exclamation point. My guides were very adamant about putting that exclamation point in there. And that is a 5 week course where we meet once a week to I'm going to be bringing through healings, activations, light language, toning, journaling, Akashic records to really clear, heal, balance, and activate at the deepest level. Because what my guides have given me is that, and we hear this all the time, but it's like, I truly know this from an energetic place that the more we love ourselves, the more we can create the life that we want. And not only that, but the happier our life is. And so we are going to be just digging into that a little deeper and spending some time with it so
Hmm.
that we can move forward with more, not only love for ourselves, but celebration, like really knowing our gifts, really honoring our gifts and feeling good about them because we are all here for a purpose. We are all here for a reason. Everybody has gifts here to share. And some your gifts don't have to be huge and grand where you're out in the public and among a lot of people. There are certain people, their gifts, it's a little more quiet, but it's equally as beautiful.
Hmm.
So we're going to be working on that, focusing on that. I'm really excited. That's $99. We start June 19th. Again, it's 5 weeks. Um, how interactive I see a
Yeah.
question
Thank you.
there. Let's see. It is going to be interactive. Um, I mean, that's a good question. It's going to be a little bit of both, where I'm going to be leading things, and those who already know energy healing or already know light language or toning can do that as we're going through this. But I am leading this so that those who don't know those things feel really seen and feel really held. And so it's as interactive as you want it to be. If you want it to be a little more interactive, it can be. If you're someone who prefers to be a little more quiet and in the background, you can show up in that way as well. Does that answer the question?
I think so. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for the
Okay.
question.
And so that is package one. Package A. Package B is a one-to-one session with me for $99. And my one-to-one sessions are always unique. They're always transformative. And really what happens is my guides talk to your guides, and what comes through is what is needed in that moment for the person. uh, I do quite a few different modalities. You can choose from one modality, such as Akashic Records, Rahani Celestial Healing, Angel Healing, Unicorn Healing, or you can do a mixed modality, and what comes through is what is highest and best for you. I do a lot of work with past lives, not only things that need to be cleared, but past lives where we really had gifts, where we were really shining our light. And I can help to anchor those in more
Hmm.
so that you can really remember and really bring that into this life. And it helps to open us into our own inner light and our own inner gifts. So that is package B. And And the private sessions, we can focus on anything physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, financial, relationships, whatever you would like to focus on. And package C is both of those together, the course and
Mm,
the private session for 177.
beautiful. Yeah. How exciting. And I love how you were saying that the guides are you're talking to your guides are talking to their guides and bringing through that highest alignment and bringing in the gifts from other lifetimes. And that is the multidimensional self, really, isn't it? It's being able to recall all of that from previous experiences that we've had and actually really anchor it and live it in the now. So I really was excited about that.
Absolutely. Each of us not only has gifts from this life, but gifts from other lifetimes that truly are at our reach.
Mm,
So, and it's
nice.
always fun to tune into those lives because the energy that comes through is is off the charts. And it's really so beautiful for people to connect with those parts of themselves. Aw, thank you, Scott. That's so kind.
Scott's had a session with you already.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, I dropped the link in, so if you want to check it out in a bit more depth, do click on the link and have a look. Maybe later, because Stacey's now going to bring through a beautiful healing process. And Stacey, you have such a beautiful way of weaving energy healing into your work and helping people really connect with their intuitive essence. And so, yeah, what are you going to bring through for us today?
Okay. Well, I'll say that in one moment. I just want to answer this question
Oh,
because
thank you. I didn't.
um, there's a question, what would the course entail? Live sessions. Yes, 5 weeks of live sessions, one per week. It's 75 minutes that we are together. The healing container has already been opened up. There's actually a couple of bonuses there. So if you sign up, you get recordings of some circles I've done. I'm trying to remember which ones, but there's two almost hour-long sessions there, as well as a welcome message, which is encoded with healings and activations. So I just wanted to answer that question.
Thank you. I didn't see it come in.
Yes. And so for today, we are, and it's funny because now I'm like, what was your question? I think you just wanted me to begin leading people
You're
through or
bringing
tell
through a
them.
healing, yeah, a lovely healing for us, and I'm hoping it's going to also help us connect with our higher self and our intuition.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So what we're going to do, I'll just give you a little bit of a rundown and then I'm going to walk everybody through it. So we're going to do those 4 essential steps. I normally do this with music, but today I'm just going to lead you through it. And already that is going to connect us to our higher selves. And then we are also going to be bringing through some of my favorite guides to work with lately are the blue avians. And why I love to work with them, they are beautiful galactic guides. They bring through, when I connect with them, they bring through an energy. I can already feel them coming through. They bring through an energy of love and support, which is so important because the more we feel loved and supported, the more we open up, the more we feel safe to open up, the more we feel safe to connect to our higher self, the more we feel safe to connect to our inner guidance. And as well, the more we feel safe to speak our truth and state our needs from a loving space with respect, from a grounded space. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. They're already like bringing through the energy. So, okay, let's go ahead and begin just by, I love doing this part as a group because even though we are on Zoom, we can breathe together. We can take some deep breaths and it just feels so communal. It just feels like a loving, supportive thing that we can all do together. And so let's just take some deep breaths. And as we do that, we slow our breath down. And as we do that, you may already be able to tell that our focus goes inward a little bit. And you can do this with your eyes closed or your eyes open, whatever feels comfortable to you. And then let's bring our attention to our heart chakra. Like I mentioned, it's that sacred space that welcomes us home time and time again. It's that loving space. And as I breathe, I'm clearing the energy because the energy is already shifting. You may feel it. And let's create that golden column of light and make it nice and wide. We want not only our body inside of it, but our whole huge energy field. And so I have a question here. How do we bring ourselves to our heart chakra? You just bring your attention down into the heart chakra. And if that's hard for you, you can just set an intention. In the beginning, that is an intention is the biggest thing. So if it's hard for you to actually follow along, just set your intention and it will happen. And so with this golden column of light, you can either see it or just intend it. Follow those golden rays all the way down into the core of Mother Earth, connecting into her beautiful supportive energy. And then bring all of that energy up those golden rays of light. And as you do that, that energy is going to go into your body and it's going to spread throughout your energy field. And then we follow that golden column of light in the opposite direction. And along the way, you can set your intention. I connect to my higher self. And if you like to take that a step further, we can follow that golden column of light all the way up into the sky, past the stars, connecting into the light and connecting into the higher realms and bringing all of that high vibrational energy down into our bodies and into our energy fields. And so right here, we've set up this sacred space. And you may feel already that you can see from a higher perspective. That's truly being connected to your higher self. If you have a question you want to ask your higher self, you can ask it now. But let's also take it one step further and bring through these guides who are going to help to open us up even more with their love and support. So right now we invite in the blue avians. And again, you may see them or you may not. You may feel them or you may not. But the biggest thing is having the intention to connect. And I'm going to be doing this for everybody. So if you would like to receive this energy that they are bringing through, you can just say to yourself, I receive, I accept. And this energy that they bring through is very loving. It's so supportive. It feels like a warm hug. And what they just told me is they're here to tell you that you are doing amazing. Are there any words that you need to hear right now? They can help you to hear those words that you need to hear, that you want to hear. And they do it with so much love and support. And you may be able to feel that as they bring through this energy, your body relaxes. Your mind relaxes. You may feel an overall softening of the energy. And it just kind of feels like our energy fields are breathing a big sigh of relief as we give them some rejuvenation here, some rest with this loving energy the blue avians are bringing through. And they're also focusing on the throat chakra, because what they're saying here is that what you have to share matters. What you have to say matters. Your gifts matter. Your light is here to share with others in whatever way feels comfortable to you. Like I mentioned before, it doesn't have to be big and grand. It can simply be by being and allowing your light to shine. Others are going to feel that when they are in your presence. And so, again, if you are looking for some guidance, feel free to ask right now. You can either ask your higher self, you can ask the blue avians, or you can ask both of them. Maybe you're given some guidance, maybe you're given some hints on where you should go, what you should do, things like that. And they give you this with love. And if nothing is coming through right now for you, they're saying it may come through later by something that you read, by a conversation that you have with somebody else. And so I can feel a beautiful shift of the energy, and we're just going to begin to bring this to a close. And we do that by the 4 steps in reverse. So we just feel that golden, or see that golden column of light. We anchor down into Mother Earth, coming into the here and now, anchoring in this beautiful energy we've created to this present moment. We bring our attention back to our heart chakra, just connecting into our heart chakra and taking some deep breaths and coming back to the present moment whenever you're ready. And also just tune in and see if you feel different. Yes, it's nice to be given the guidance, but the thing that also happens when we are connected to our higher self, it raises our frequency. It raises our vibration. So we are literally existing at a different plane. So just tune in and see how you're feeling.
Beautiful. I definitely felt lifted by the end of it, but during it, it was like everything softened and it felt like I was just being wrapped in like a silk blanket.
That's the image they actually gave me, was us being, that's an image they often give me when I'm connecting to them, is like wrapping us in the most cozy blanket. That's the energy they bring. So I love that you picked up on that.
Yeah, it was just like this, just that feeling of soft silkiness and yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Someone said, thank you, Stacey. It was a great calming feeling. My throat chakra needed this. Yeah, I agree, Jonna. Thank you for sharing. I think it's a good time to open the floor. Maybe some people would like to share their experiences, or maybe you've got a question for Stacey about what she shared today, or maybe even about her upcoming course. I think if you go to the bottom, you can hit the react and raise your hand, or equally pop your real hand up and I'll invite you to unmute yourself.
Is
Chan,
Chandra
if you put
waving
your
a
hand
hand?
up.
Yeah, I have a few questions.
It was not quite a.
Oh,
There we go. Hi.
Hi, yeah, thank you so much. So nice to meet you and be part of this. I just have a few questions, just for clarification. Is our higher selves kind of like connecting to our spirit or souls, or that is that what the higher self is? Just to reconnect back with our spirit form, I guess.
Yes, definitely connecting to our soul. It's such a pure expression of who we are. Like I said, it's really of the higher dimensions. We are multidimensional. And so it's really connecting into this higher piece of ourself. And all of us is connected to our soul. So it's a way of really connecting in and getting that higher guidance.
And then it's interesting that you mentioned the chaos thing because literally feel like I've been spinning and like just a little tornado. So I guess this practice we did is kind of a quick and easy way that, to kind of help get recentered, realigned, and just take a breath. And then the last thing I wanted to, I guess, just question. I thought it was interesting that you mentioned the slip into worry comment. However, there's several times where I'm like, I know better and I should have done better in the moment. So what do we do in those moments? Because it's when we clearly know, okay, I didn't handle that the best. And so the worry is result of the previous, like, okay, now what do I do? Or how do I get back in check?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's when the loving guidance comes through. Because even though we are doing our best, that doesn't mean we're never going to make mistakes. And so, truly, that is also what my higher self, as well as my guides, say is that as long as we have done our best, that is all that is needed. And we can look back on it and say, yes, this could have happened better. I could have done this better. And we just kind of put that in our pocket for next time because we are here to learn and grow. And so the more that we can eliminate the shoulds, right? And again, that's kind of a should, but the more that we can just see it with a loving perspective, the more we can relax, knowing that, okay, this journey here on earth is not going to be perfect, but I'm going to show up doing my best. I'm going to show up with a loving heart. It's okay to make mistakes.
Mm.
And and so that's also like when sometimes the worry does come because we worry, I should have done this, I should have done that. And they say the advice is the same. As long as you did your best, they really keep bringing through this loving and supportive energy that that brings through this feeling of knowing I did my best. That's the best I can do. That's all I can show up with.
What if it wasn't, it wasn't your best though?
Well, I'm probably what I'm saying is in that moment, that probably was what you had in your tank.
Mm.
Does that make sense? Sometimes our best isn't always going to be who we are at our highest potential. Sometimes our best is a more limited version of us. And does that make sense? So, yeah, we just do the best we can and take the pressure off and learn from it. That's how we learn, that's how we grow.
Mm. Yeah, and I think that's, where the self-love comes in, right? Because
Yeah, I was just
Yeah.
thinking that.
we
Mhm.
have to, love ourselves through it all, and we get better at loving ourselves through however we show up. And as
Yeah.
as Stacey was sharing, I think if we catch ourselves and think, oh, I could have done that better, then we will do it better the next time round. And we're not going to learn if we don't have these experiences in order to learn.
Yeah, it's truly about being gentle with ourselves and knowing that sometimes what we did is is just going to have to do, and it's fine. And we learn and we grow and we bring ourselves loving support. Because actually, that is the best energy to show up with instead of worry, sternness. Sometimes we can get really
Yeah.
stern with ourselves and hard on ourselves. And that really impacts our energy when instead of just saying, you know what, okay, could have done that better. I forgive myself, I let that go.
Mhm.
And I give myself love and support. I give myself grace.
So one last thing, and then I'll let somebody else along those same lines. So whenever that's happening and it's not necessarily you and you see it happening like in your household and there's nothing you can do or say to help that moment, or you feel because that person's hurt and I think you've wronged them, I guess the only thing you can do is the same principle, right? Apply, like just give them love and support and just, support them and acknowledge
And
their feelings, and that's all you can do, right?
And you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I'm sure there's a more eloquent way of saying that, but apologize, share your feelings, share from your heart. And sometimes we do need to do that. Like I mentioned, we aren't here to be perfect. But the more that we can actually love ourselves, even when we make mistakes, and this is what the Blue Avians were talking about, the more that we show up with love and support for ourselves, the easier it is for us to speak to others and be vulnerable and just show up from a place of grounded love and respect. And sometimes that means saying, I'm sorry, I could have done better. I've learned, I will try to do better next time, right? This is what I've learned.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Chandra. Anyone else? Would anyone else like to ask a question or share an experience? Let's read in the chat. Michaela says, I want to thank you for the meditation. Among those who we could see, I saw a lot of gentle smiles and I felt that love and support inside myself. Nice, beautiful. Thank you.
It really shifts the energy when we can really just bring that gentleness within. So I love that you felt that.
Right. Well, if no one else has got a question, I've got a couple more. So I would love to know, Stacey, if someone listening today or catching the replay at a later time, if they were to take one aligned step from their higher self right now, what might that look like and feel like, or even ask of them?
One aligned step. Well, could I break that into 4 steps? The 4 essential steps that I shared, which could just be one step of really just taking that moment to come within, like we started off, right? Being centered, grounding, and connecting to our higher self. That automatically brings us into 5th dimensional energy when we do that. And I know I can feel it. Maybe you can feel it too, but it's almost like I literally can feel my perspective shift from being down here to like being up here and just being able to see it with eyes of love.
Yeah, that higher perspective.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. And so, as our conversation comes to a close, Stacey, if you were to offer one piece of intuitive wisdom from your higher self, what would you love to share?
Mm. My higher self loves to bring through love. And I do think it's something that comes through in my sessions as well. And it is a gift of mine that I've had since childhood, is really being able to see people at their like deepest, most clear, most highest potential, seeing their gifts. Sometimes that's so hard for us to see within ourselves. But like I mentioned earlier, it's this is the message that keeps coming through, is that you are a miracle. You are a blessing. I'm saying this to everybody here and on the replay. You are a gift. And so I hope that you can really feel it from within. And if you can't, that's okay. That's just energy that as it's cleared, you can feel it. Because I will tell you, I didn't always love myself. I wasn't always able to connect to those energies. If you know my story is like decades long of like health issues, emotional stuff that I've really worked through. So I speak from experience. But it's easy for me to see this in others and to believe in them, and to know that if they don't feel that from within, that's okay. They can get to that place.
I really resonate with that. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Stacey. What a really profound and just heart-opening conversation that we've shared today. And thank you to everyone for joining us. And yeah, thank you, Stacey, for reminding us that, intuition is not something that we chase. It's something that just rises from within.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thank you
being.
so much. It's been, you create such a beautiful sacred space here with your energy, Victoria. And thank you to everybody who's been on here, just sharing your light and sharing your love in the comments and asking questions. And so I received that. So lots of love to you all.
Thank you. And so, yeah, as we navigate these changing times, aligning with our higher self is really about, as Stacey shared, coming home to ourselves. And, it just doesn't have to be in one big hit. It can be moment by moment, and really allowing the inner truth and compassion to guide us forward. And so if there's one invitation that I'd love to leave you with, it really is to trust that quiet voice within. Even when it doesn't make sense, even if it asks you to walk a different direction, that voice is the future calling you home. And so if Stacey's wisdom resonated with you today, I invite you to take a moment in silence and follow her 4 steps to connect with your higher self, and ask, what would you have me know today? And then let the answer arise. So, as always, from my heart to yours, thank you for journeying with us and playing a really active role in co-creating the new Earth. And until next time, may your path be lit from within. So, bye for now, bye everyone, and thank you for being here. Thank you for joining this heart-to-heart conversation. As we awaken to freedom and remember our true nature, we restore harmony between humanity and Mother Earth. This is a space for conscious creators, for those here to reclaim their power, presence, and divine potential. I'm Victoria Hart, and from my heart to yours, I honour your light and your unfolding path. To explore more, visit theconsciouscreationcoach.com.